I've mentioned this before to everybody, but if they go and ask all the 90-year-olds, what's the one thing you would do different in your whole life? And 100% of them said, don't worry. And that's why they're 90 years old. But what I was going to say is I just read yesterday, like you would get the college journal, and this one was from North Carolina, where I had gone to undergraduate. And these statistics were absolutely terrifying. So if you took the 4 undergraduate years of students, the number of kids that feel anxiety 24/7 is 75%. The number of kids who feel that they are always depressed is 50%. The number of kids that had considered suicide in the last 12 months was 12 to 15%. To the point they got into a parking garage, sat on the 6th floor, and then didn't jump. It was scary. And then they came back and said, well, how do we deal with this? And the problem with the psychology and the psychiatry was, at this point in time, as you just said, was payment and who does it. And there weren't enough. And so the kids, even through the educational system, couldn't get help. They go to student health and there aren't enough people. Well, we'll send you to out. So they arranged Uber to take them to outside physicians for help, or psychologists. And so what's happened is the students themselves have made their own support groups because they've lost siblings or friends to suicide from high school through college. I mean, that to me, and I think what Giovanni was just talking about, I'm hoping that one of the ways you can, especially with this generation, is through telehealth. I mean, telehealth for behavioral medicine, to me, is a big jump. There's a lot of places it'll work, but in behavioral medicine, with Zoom and whatever, I hope that it will give us a jump on that. But those were scary statistics.
I would say on that those statistics are pre-COVID. I think that post-COVID that you have to double or triple all those numbers because you know, I speak regularly with colleagues of mine that are, well, I'm in the higher education field besides being a doctor.
Right.
And I frankly, if somebody tells me that there's no anxiety issues right now, I think that something is severely wrong. And so this is, and COVID is a generation defining event. COVID is not going to go away. COVID has already put a mark on our next decade. And so I think that all the issues that you raised were massively amplified by this tragedy, which in my opinion is a medical tragedy, but it's going to be a psychiatric tragedy even more. And I don't think we have seen its peak, which is going to happen after we get out of the pandemic state. And so I think that you basically are discussing probably the most important medical issue that we are going to have for the next 10, 20 years.
Oh, because it'll affect business, hiring. These kids have been put in I mean, you know how we all feel. We can't get out and stuff. They can't get employment. I'm talking about the 20 to 30 somethings. And then they don't get gratification in their employment. I go back, I said, by the way, your book title is Medicine's Easy. What was it? Science is easy, but people are hard.
People are difficult. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, that's your book title, and I'll do your forward. But
yes, I continue to think it's the best.
I think we can all contribute some chapters to this.
Oh yeah. So
the most important, But you know that if you think about how pervasive has been the process, in that I think it's the first time in history that we have been telling the parents to be afraid of their kids.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how pervasive? I mean, me having I have 6 kids as we discussed with my friend Randy in the podcast, and that at least the two are still living with me. And frankly, I'm a virologist. I cannot dissociate the fact that I'm a virologist from being their dad. But when I see them, I now have to think, oh my God, who did you date last night? Where were you? You know, did you use the mask? And that I think is a totally new, and also the kind of strain on every kind of interpersonal relationship. These are unprecedented times, and I honestly think that we are going to have a massive crisis in psychiatric terms, which is going to get worse after, because the pandemic, you know, right now we are all focusing and concentrating on the primary goal, which is let's get rid of this virus, let's get people vaccinated, and so on and so forth. After, I think is going to be a post-traumatic situation, which is going to be of global proportions. And so I think all the issues that you mentioned, Richard, are going to just really reach epidemic proportions, are going to be very, very difficult to contain.